This is Professor Carpenter at Valencia College. Welcome to today's session, Analyzing Argument Essays in 75 Readings Plus. For this session, we'll look at two essays in 75 Readings Plus, Let Them Eat Dog by Jonathan Safran Foer and Texting is Rampant by Michael Rubinkham. Here are our lesson objectives. What do you think about when you see a cute dog? How about a cow or pig? In Let Them Eat Dog, the author, Jonathan Foer, points out that whatever thoughts come to mind with dogs, cows, and pigs, we do not think of dogs as food. He acknowledges in the essay, quote, "Eating dogs is likely repulsive to just about every reader of this paper. However, we do find logic in thinking of cows and pigs as food." This essay points out, in a satirical argument, that there is no difference between dogs, cows, and pigs in terms of considering them as food. The essay explores how illogical it is that we consider eating dogs as taboo, but consider eating animals such as cows, pigs, sheep, and chickens as reasonable and desirable. Safran's thesis is, dog is realistic food for realistic environmentalists. The author uses several strategies including shock, satire, ethos, pathos, and logos. Let's examine how the author uses the strategies of ethos, pathos, and logos as persuasive strategies in his essay. Ethos is mainly your personal credibility demonstrated when you face a situation. Pathos is creating an emotional attachment with your audience, and logos is your reasoning and your logic that appeals to your audience. First, remember that ethos pertains to the credibility of an author. How credible is the author? Well, in this case, Foer is a graduate of Princeton, an award-winning writer, and the essay does demonstrate he has done research on the issue. Readers should know, however, that he is a vegetarian and animal rights activist. This is important not only in informing us that the author does have bias, but in letting us know that his tone is satirical. Next, how does the author use ethos, creating an emotional attachment with his audience? The author tugs at our emotions and shocks us with descriptions such as this: recipe for stewed dog wedding style, the discussion of Hawaiian tradition of holding the dog's nose shut in order to conserve blood, Hawaiians eating the dog brains and blood, and the description of dog meat as gamey, complex, and buttery. He tugs at our heart by juxtaposing our images of our own pet dogs with images of dog brains, blood, and slaughter. In addition to pathos, the author appeals to the logical or logos of readers to support his argument. In the essay, for example, he presents a list of dog eaters in history, including these: Hippocrates, Dakota Native Americans, Hawaiians, and Captain Cook. In his goal to persuade us that it is okay to eat dog because others have eaten it. He points out this logical evidence for his argument. Dog eating isn't a taboo in many places, and it isn't in any way bad for us. Millions of dogs and cats euthanized in animal shelters every year become the food for livestock and pets. So here are some of the evidence for his argument using logos. The author also points out the lack of logic of our choices of food in these quotes. The French who love their dogs sometimes eat their horses. The Spanish who love their horses sometimes eat their cows. The Indians who love their cows sometimes eat their dogs. He also uses Chef Ramsay's quote, Chef Gordon Ramsay, who once said he'd electrocute his children if they became vegetarian, yet refuses to cook dogs. The author gets to the actual point of his argument in this quote. Food is not rational. Food is culture, habit, craving, and identity, responding to factory farming calls for a capacity to care that dwells beyond information. We know that we see on undercover videos of factory farms and slaughterhouses is wrong. And despite it being entirely reasonable, the case for eating dogs is likely repulsive to just about every reader of this paper. This instinct comes before our reason, and it is more important. The purpose of the essay is that we should regard other animals like we regard dogs, as sentient, valuable creatures. So here is his actual argument. Dogs are wonderful and in many ways unique, but they are remarkably unremarkable in their intellectual and experiential capacities. Pigs are every bit as intelligent and feeling by any sensible definition of the words. So in other words, we shouldn't eat any animal. The author uses humorous alliteration here. Puppy peeking pots, poach the family pooch. Look for other places he uses alliteration for humorous effect. What does his joking style tell you about his approach to the topic? So as we wrap up this discussion, think about this. What is Foer's focus, his primary subject in this essay? Is eating dogs his real topic? What reasons does Foer put forth to eat dog? And what reasons does he proffer about not eating dogs? Which set of reasons is more convincing? Next, let's look at the argument essay, Texting is Rampant. The author is an Associated Press reporter, and he first posted this essay in November 2010 on LehighValleyLive.com. His thesis is that texting at the school has surpassed doodling, daydreaming, and note passing to become the top classroom distraction. The author presents a question for readers to think about. Should colleges have a no texting allowed policy? And the author presents both sides, yes and no, as well as the advantages and disadvantages of texting. He offers statistics to create awareness of the frequency of texting in the classroom. The author's credibility is supported by the author's presentation of both sides, presentation of statistics and facts from the survey, interviews and presentation of quotations from both sides, demonstration of research performed for the story, and his experience as an Associated Press reporter. The opening sentence captures our attention. When his professors drone, Dan Kotz whips out his phone. He starts with a specific example and a quote by a student who texts. He uses pathos to capture us emotionally. The author also uses logic, presenting specific facts and statistics such as these from a survey. The author presents those who advocate banning texting and those who allow it. This increases his credibility. The author presents student arguments for texting. The author also cites students who acknowledge texting in class as a problem. He ends with a quotation using the term withdrawal and fix, supporting the view that texting is actually an addiction. So as we wrap up this essay, think about this. Imagine you are a student representative asked to meet with administrators to write a school policy on texting. Would you say that texting should be banned in the classroom? Why or why not? Think about this. A professor from Syracuse walked out on his class of nearly 400 students when he caught a couple of students fiddling with their phones instead of paying attention to him. Do you agree or disagree with his reaction? Is the reaction too extreme or not extreme enough? This concludes this lecture. Have a great week.